I really liked Blue Beetle just because it was okay. And okay is the standard for good now, which is very sad. Did you see that? You saw Blue Beetle, right? I told you to go see it, I believe, Zach.
I thought I told you to see it.
I thought I told you to see it. I don't know. There was a conversation.
I didn't tell anybody to see it because I didn't watch it.
Hello there.
Don't have a good day. Have a great day.
Talk to me, Goose.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
Why so serious?
Squirrel! I could do this all day.
Are you watching closely?
Welcome, everybody, to the One-Eyed Film Podcast. I'm your host, Seth Mossberg, and we made a big mistake. We were wrong, and we are sorry. That's what you call a hook, you guys. That's to make sure they'll watch through more than just the intro, and they'll actually understand. At the beginning of 2023, we made predictions about what our favorite movies, or what we thought the 2023 movies would look like, and we were wrong in some parts. We were really right in others. So obviously we had my little brother Luke with us last time. He wasn't able to join us tonight, but we're going to walk through the movies that we talked about in our prediction. If you want our original prediction in its fullest, you can go listen to that episode. This is the middle of January, a while ago. I believe it was episode 10, but we're also going to walk through it here. So do with that what you will.
Before we go into our list, should we each say like the one movie that everyone should see this year? Should we each do that? Our opinion?
Yes, I think. Yes, let's do that. What was your favorite movie from the year? And let's see how it lines up with what your most expected best movie was. Because I have that written down too, like which movie you were most looking forward to. So what were your favorite? What was your one favorite movie?
This will surprise me because...
Yeah. Zach hasn't listened to it. Will has, so.
Well, I think if I were to just say one movie from this year that everyone should go see. This isn't my favorite from the year, but it's first the one that everyone's...
So we're doing what others should go see, not what your favorite was.
Well, I was getting into that, but I wanted to say this first. I mean, if others want to do it, I was just going to say, though, that the one movie from the year that I think everyone should go see is Sound of Freedom, just because of the message of that movie, and I think it's just a very important thing for everyone to see, and I think it's just kind of hard to rank that among the other movies just with how important the message is compared to the rest.
So for message, you would say Sound of Freedom, not for best movie.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Best movie, I would probably say, I think I'm going to go with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. James Gunn ended things so well. All the actors gave great performances. It was character focused and emotional, like I expected for the movie, and he finished very well with the trilogy. And what did I expect was going to be my favorite? I'll
get to that in a sec. I think something we could do in the future is maybe like the awards, the movie awards, and maybe that's more like our soundtracks episode where we bring our own nominations and winners to the table and say, you know, what our winner for best message, what our winner for best soundtrack, cinematography, best movie overall. I think we could do that. I think that would be fun.
Next year. Will,
you don't have to have a best message, but what was your favorite movie from the year?
Well, I mean, I was going to say regarding to like the one that I think everyone should go watch would definitely be Sound of Freedom. I'd harp at that. That's what I was going to say. But then my favorite one, I don't really watch a lot of movies this year. I'd say like probably my favorite one. It is going to be a bit of a tie between Sound of Freedom and the Mario movie, which are two very different. And the reason I say that is because the Mario movie was just like the Mario movie was like is like very fun and I enjoyed it. But like the Sound of Freedom was just like very well put together, and like it just the entire like story that it's telling was just really good and compelling. So I think I probably would say Mario movie because I just really enjoyed sitting down with friends and like going to the theater and actually watching it as my favorite. But that's probably it. I didn't actually really watch a lot of movies this year, like in the theater and just stuff like that.
Yeah, I did watch a lot of movies. I got AMC A-List, so I got to watch Nicole Kidman every single week. I was so happy about that. Stop playing it, please, AMC. Besides that.
What? You said like Nicole Kidman?
Yeah, Nicole Kidman has a short before. You know, they usually have the thank you for watching with AMC Theaters. Please don't talk or text, whatever. And for the last 3 years since the pandemic, they have a video with Nicole Kidman saying, AMC Theaters, we make movies better. And just goes on for like 3 minutes about how good movies are. I'm like, yes, I know. That's why I'm here. It's getting really bad. I'm contemplating life sometimes. No. Only because you guys have already said Sound of Freedom twice. I'm not going to say that that's not my number one pick. I think it's a great movie to go watch. But a movie that I think everyone should see for the message would be Jesus Revolution, and how it wasn't standout, crazy, off the charts, 11 out of 10, but it made a lot of good points about how to love and unloved people, especially back in that time that it was set, but also shows the importance of baptism and how a church operates and things like that that are just so good to see, especially in a really well-crafted story. For my favorite movie, I would have to say it was Across the Spider-Verse or Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. And that's only because that was one of my picks for my most excited movie of the year back in January. So because I'm not a cheater, I will say that I liked Across the Spider-Verse. But even now, as I'm thinking about that, man, there's a lot of bad movies this year, but there's a lot of good movies. I don't know where Godzilla -1 sits on there. It's up there. It's really good, and I don't know if it can take number one. I'm thinking about the reactions that I had in the theater watching these movies. The Spider-Verse movie blew me away all the time. Like, most of the scenes were beautiful and well animated, and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning had so much action and so much heart behind it. And then Godzilla -1 was equally as cool and yet just more impressive, with how much it stayed as a normal movie, like a good old movie without any frustrating messages in it. But that's a topic for another time. You guys at the beginning of the year said that you were excited. Zach had said that he was excited for Across the Spider-Verse was his number one movie, which I know you love it, but I'm surprised that wasn't your number one pick. Will, yours kind of surprised me as I look back. You said 65 and Transformers Rise of the Beasts. I don't know that you even saw either of them, did you?
I haven't. I didn't.
Wow.
Okay, for the record, though, I don't go to theaters. Unless someone else is going, I don't go to theaters.
That's very fair.
Or watch movies, really. Unless they're free, and unless it's free, or unless some friends are going and they're asking me, then I will go. That's it.
Or if your friend who hosts a podcast.
Which is ironic, because I'm in a film podcast, so...
I was going to say, unless your friend who hosts a film podcast asks you to watch a movie to record an episode on it. Besides that...
I mean, I'll be honest, that's part of the reason why I chose Sound of Freedom and the Mario movie, because those are the only two that I know for sure that I did and actually go watch. I don't know out of the entire list if I watched any of the other ones. In
retrospect, it's funny that you saw the list of all the things we talked about, and you said 65 and Rise of the Beast. Probably, what was it like? It was pretty low on the list. I don't know that it made top 20, either of them. 65 was pretty bad. I think Rise of the Beast got some good popularity, but not a lot. The Transformers fandom is kind of...
Yeah, but it wasn't that scene. Well, I think, because in the original episode, I just said, I'm just excited to see what they're going to do with it. I don't think I necessarily said I was excited for them.
This is the part... Right away, I asked you guys...
Because I knew I wasn't going to go watch them, so...
Right away, I had asked you guys which ones you were most excited for, and those were what you said, so...
Okay.
Luke had said that he was hopeful for Indiana Jones and really looking forward to Super Mario, which he admitted his hope was misplaced in Indiana Jones, even in the January episode. But I think his Super Mario prediction was fair. And then I was looking forward to Dead Reckoning and Oppenheimer, and we'll talk about those individually here in a second. But we're going to walk through not all of the movies we talked about, because some of them there was like Cocaine Bear, and we didn't watch those, and they didn't make a big splash. So we're going to leave those. But the ones that we really had discussion on, I'm going to walk through them chronologically and remind us what we talked about and reflect on the movie if we have seen it. First up was Quantumania.
Oh, no.
I love listening to this part because Zach was so hopeful. He said, It will hopefully be what we're missing from Phase 4, a return to what we had in Phase 1 through 3. He thinks that it would be focused on the drama, and he actually correctly predicted Darren as MODOK. And you didn't predict it, but there were rumors of it. Oh, man, were you wrong?
Yeah.
I was quite wrong.
I had said better direction for the MCU starting here. Like, I thought that this was going to be... Well, actually, I believe I said it was going to be the make or break for the MCU. It was either going to it was going to show their cards regardless, and it definitely did that. Man, Quantumania really was the downfall. I mean, there were a lot of other downfalls, but starting Phase 5, man, that really sucked. I'm not dissing Zach for his bad prediction. There's no way you could have known, but we were all kind of hopeful. Yeah. Any thoughts about Any thoughts about that one?
I just thought, I quite enjoyed the first two. And with the same director coming back and everything, I thought we were going to get another good movie. It seemed fairly likely, in my opinion. And the trailers made it seem all emotional and everything. And I was kind of expecting that in the movie. But then the movie was just really dumb. I should rewatch it just to see how dumb it is again.
I mean, because to be fair, looking at the trailers, they did give off a more emotional and serious vibe, and I don't even really remember what
I don't think it can really be blamed. They didn't market it well.
I just think about the scene where Cassie's telling MODOK to just be a good person. You know the scene I'm talking about? That scene was so bad.
Do. That's the one time that
not gonna use the language in the scene, but
that's the one time that talking the villain out of being a villain actually worked. You don't have to be this way. Yeah. Most of the time, then the villain's just like, yes, I do. But this time he's like, yeah, you're right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and wasn't there something also involving Bill Murray was in there and he got eaten, and then there's time traveling ants or something that it formed a civilization and did some weird stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I just know that Kang was there, and then at the end they have, because Kang's the villain they've been trying to build up to, and then at the end they have all of the Kangs, and it's still nothing.
Kang got defeated by ants.
He did.
That's how the movie
ends. His second time. Something that somebody pointed out with the recent, Jonathan Majors was found guilty of the charges and Marvel dropped him from the productions. They've established that every Kang in the multiverse looks like Jonathan Majors with that post-credits scene. It's not like they can recast somebody and say, you can't just recast him and say, oh, it's another variant, because we've made it obvious that they all look like Jonathan Majors. So I'm interested to see what they do in the next few years in how the direction of the Marvel Cinematic Universe goes. But we were saying that at the beginning, and that was interesting. Quantumania was number 10 in the box office for the year, making almost $500 million. So it wasn't bad, but I think that was a lot of people having hope and then having that hope squashed when they saw jokes about how many holes you have. We don't want to spend too long on each one, so we're going to keep moving. Jesus Revolution. This was one that I was excited for, only because I was really the only one who had seen it. You two weren't as excited for it. I don't know if you guys saw it. I mean, Will doesn't see movies, but...
I didn't see it, but I did listen to the episode, and I do distinctly remember being cautiously, I think it was cautiously optimistic, where I was because I think I remember talking about how I felt that it could be a good film, but because it was by a major studio, I was hesitant if it was to be oh, this is going to be great. So, but I think hearing your guys' episode about it and the other reviews, that it was actually pretty good. So I think I was correct, whatever. I'm pleasantly surprised when it turned out to be a good film.
Yep. Zach, did you see it?
I never saw it, no.
Okay, sounds good. I liked it. That's all there is to it. Creed 3. The only thing I had said was that I had hoped to watch all the Rocky movies in preparation for it. I didn't. And I didn't even watch it. I heard that it was pretty good for Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut. But besides that, it was a basic Rocky Creed movie. So there's that. I still want to see them. I just didn't get to in time. Yeah. This one's interesting. Shazam 2. Zach was very excited for this one. Zach, care to share your opinions?
Yeah, I was. It was
that one was pretty bad.
It was so disappointing in retrospect.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the one thing that I did like more from it is that we saw a more emotional side to Freddy. But besides that, it just was very kind of just your generic superhero film. I think the villains were quite forgettable. And then there's the full Wonder Woman just coming in to save the day at the end, just kind of out of nowhere. And I don't know. It didn't have the same heart at all as the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wait, so Wonder Woman showed up in the film?
Yeah, she shows up at the end.
Oh.
Pretty much out of nowhere.
She does that. She does that in Flash too. She just kind of shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it, I guess. I still haven't seen the first Shazam, so...
Seth, you got to see the first one.
I know.
Be disappointed by the second one.
I need to raise my standards so that I can lower them.
Well, because I think that's interesting about the Shazam films, because from my understanding, it's that the first Shazam films, people had low expectations for it, and then it did pretty good. Well, and then people, because they had raised expectations due to the first film. They had higher expectations, and then those were lowered by the second film, which is like almost an inverse relationship between the two.
Yeah.
Like the first Shazam movie is like a top 5 superhero film for me. So I was very disappointed by the second one.
Sure. Cool. What did that one make? That one made 133 million. Not a lot. I mean, that is a lot, but not a lot. Next up, Super Mario, the number 2 movie of 2023 by the numbers. It was 1.4, almost 1.4 billion dollars. This is worldwide numbers, by the way. This is all that the movie has made internationally. I thought it was going to be ironically good. I had hopes for it. I think they were well met. Zach had questions about Chris Pratt's voice and was pleased that the bathroom humor seemed to be dubbed down because of whatever Nintendo's deal was. And I believe that was pretty accurate. I think it was not a classic Illumination movie. It looked like an Illumination movie, but it didn't act like one. And I think it was ironically good per my perspective. But what did you guys think about his voice? The voice of Mario and Chris Pratt playing him and half the other animated characters.
I mean, I have no hard opinions generally on the Mario voice. I never did. In some sense, like I think it would be kind of interesting to have a authentic Mario voice film, but I think Chris Pratt did a fine job. It didn't bother me while watching the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to be honest, I took more of an issue with Seth Rogen playing Donkey Kong than Chris Pratt playing Mario.
Yeah,
Seth. I mean, especially when he started doing the laugh and things, it's like this is just Seth Rogen looking like a gorilla instead of Donkey Kong. So, I think Chris Pratt kind of get used to him playing Mario. So
yeah, it didn't bother me after a while, and I think that's a good cartoon character, animated character. Being where you're not thinking, oh, that actor is doing a good job playing that part. This is the character, and I thought the latter. During Mario, it's not that I was always like, oh, Chris Pratt is so wrong for this. It's like I got immersed into the movie enough that I didn't care. Some people didn't, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, overall, that film is just, it's a fun one. It's like I was able to sit down and I really enjoyed just all of it. And it was like, it was kind of goofy a little bit, but it had I think it had some more heart to it. And yeah, I think it was really enjoyable.
Yeah, overall, I would say, in some ways, it definitely is an Illumination film. It doesn't have, like, the heart that you'd see in a Pixar or Disney movie. But, yeah, I mean, it was fun, especially as someone who's played the games. It was fun to see all the little Easter eggs and all that. And overall, fun story, fun characters, and Peaches.
And Peaches. We got some good meme songs this year. And Zach, you sent me one that I'm Just Ken and Peaches will not be facing off in some sort of competition.
Because Peaches isn't making it into the Oscars. Peaches isn't making it into the Oscars.
Oh no! What a travesty.
I'm Just Ken is, but Peaches is not.
Wow. Better luck next time. Next up, number 4 in the box office, making $845 million. Guardians 3. I do not think this deserves number 4. And I can't control that, but I'm just saying, I don't think it deserves number 4. It was really good.
You think it deserves higher or lower?
Higher. As in, I don't think it should have been kicked to number 4. Sorry if that wasn't obvious. I had gotten excited for the trailer, mostly because of the passion that I saw Chris Pratt putting into the role. The problem was when I saw that scene in the movie where he was crying about Rocket was like 5 seconds before they resurrected him somehow. But regardless of that, it was still a hard-hitting movie for different reasons. I expected we were going to lose some of the characters, like die, and technically we lost one, but then he came back. I appreciated that it seemed to be distant from the MCU, and I was right about that. And I heard something very recently. The Guardians films are Guardians films first, Marvel movies second. They don't need to play into the MCU like all the others have been. That's what made it so good, I think. William said it could be hit or miss, but was excited for Adam Warlock, who I think, personally, was not utilized the best, but you can talk about that in a sec. And Zach expected Death and, again, Marvel returning to its glorious phase 1 through 3. It did for a single movie, but it didn't. It wasn't enough momentum to carry the rest of it back. So, what do you guys think?
I mean, I already said it's my favorite movie from the year, most definitely. I think I've probably already praised it enough, but I think it gave. I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna say now that I haven't said it in like the MCU episode or previously in this one, but there were just a lot of deep themes and, well-written characters, just very centered on this team that, we've grown to love over the past few movies, and kind of writing. I mean, it's so cool that James Gunn had us crying for these characters without killing any of them. Just really cool to me.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I haven't seen this one either, so I can't really say too much. But I have seen some of the clips and stuff like that, and I do know that kind of the general idea of like the emotional heavy hitting. So it just sounds like it was a pretty good film, though, and I'm glad. It's just I think it's too little, too late for the Marvel Cinematic franchise.
Yeah, I think so too. Next up was Fast X, number 5 in the box office. I was very surprised at that. It actually made a lot of money compared to, the whole year. I was interested in how it one-upped all the other movies, being the 10th installment, actually 11th if you count the spinoff. And they one-upped it for sure. No, I take that back. I don't think they actually one-upped it. The 9th one, they went to space. You can't really up that. So the 10th one was a lot more down to earth, but it was still a fast movie. And they became very self-aware in the 10th movie, where what's the guy's name who plays Jack Reacher in the new Amazon series? Whatever his name is.
Alan Ritchson.
We'll go with that. His character is talking about, these guys seem to defy gravity. And we're like, yeah, that's kind of why they're so sick. But I think because it's starting to become a meme and the directors are not being serious anymore, it's starting to become fun. And it's still so frustrating that I like them so much. Okay, so I had said that I was going to watch all of the Creed and Rocky movies to watch Creed 3, and I never did. I did not expect that I would want to watch all of the Fast movies in order to watch Fast X. I did, and I loved it. The later ones definitely got a little more on the nose, but the middle ones, just the sweet spot. There was some amazing action scenes that were real. The family joke is still legitimate and all over the place. Like, they have the power family, that's their superpower, but it's still so good. And I didn't like that they ended on a cliffhanger, basically the end of a TV show episode where it's like, tune in next time to find out the finale of Fast X and whatever. And they haven't even announced the sequel, which is so weird. It was a roller coaster, and I loved it and couldn't wait to get off at the same time. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that's really interesting because with my siblings, I've been watching through some of the Fast and Furious movies, kind of just haphazardly in different orders as we get them or whatever. And they are just kind of out there. And from what I can tell is like those ones are just like guilty pleasures that people just watch for fun. And they're just kind of silly and goofy and can be enjoyable for that. But here's the thing: like, I thought like the 10th one was supposed to be the last film, but then I heard that they're making like a part 1 and a part 2 for the 10th film that's supposed to be the last one of the franchise. No, I don't really know what's going on, because like in each like a movie they're like, oh, but wait until next time we're gonna go even crazier, and it's like you gotta like end it somewhere.
It's gonna be like the last episode of Attack on Titan, where it's like season 5, episode 24, part 2, Plan B or something. I don't know. Their naming convention goes really crazy at the end, but yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, I think Fast X is supposed to be the beginning of a final trilogy, from what I thought I heard.
Oh my gosh. I mean, okay, it makes sense that they end at 12, but it also makes sense that they should have ended at like 3 or 5.
Yeah.
So
back when like it still like was actually just about like cars and stuff and like illegal driving or whatever.
I mean, I've only seen the first one, so
I don't know what it is that's so charming about these movies, but there's literally, I don't know how I like this. It's because when you understand it's not our reality, it's their reality where things are a little over the top. One of the movies, 6 or 7 I think, Vin Diesel ground pounds the ground, like he just and it cracks open and swallows the villain. Like,
thing about street fights, the street always wins.
that's so ridiculous, and yet it's so funny.
Yeah, because was that like, I think that was like on like the bridge or whatever, and they're fighting people. Like, yeah, it is. Like, they are like, literally, they're just guilty pleasures that you go and watch, and it's like it makes no sense.
Isn't there a scene where Dwayne Johnson breaks a cast by flexing?
He does. He just goes, and it explodes on his arm. It's so funny. Oh man.
Daddy's gotta go to work.
Oh man,
or like I also loved it. I also loved like the Hobbs and Shaw moment, like in that film when like The Rock is like literally like holding down like a helicopter, and like, he's like literally preventing a helicopter from flying away, like Captain America style. And I'm like,
there's even more ridiculous things, and I can't get into all of them.
Sounds like we need to do an episode about all of that.
I think we should, and that's once Zach finishes watching through all of them. It's on you, buddy.
Wait, you want me in this episode?
You're the closest one who have watched all of them. Well, I guess William has, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, because I think I've seen...
I watched one.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
I've watched 6, 7, 9, 8, 9. In different orders. I don't know. I don't know how many I've watched.
Imagine watching Star Wars in that order. You would not survive.
Yeah, I've watched like...
They have this for a reason.
4 of them in like haphazard order. Some of them backwards. It's crazy. Yeah, it's so weird. I'm figuring it out as I go.
Yeah, sure. Moving on. Little Mermaid, number 7 for the whole year. We didn't expect much all around, and I don't think any of us saw it. And we all don't want to get into that controversy. So it was just interesting that it made number 7.
Moving on.
So, next up. Across the Spider-Verse, number 6. Again, I don't think this deserves number 6. I think it should be higher. I don't know why it's even below Guardians. I think Across the Spider-Verse was a much better movie than Guardians. Not much better. It was, yeah. It's interesting to see how box office numbers reflect popularity. So I had been looking forward to an original story, understanding that the Spider-Verse and the multiverse is a part of the Spider-Man character and not just shoehorned in like Multiverse of Madness. And I was hoping for more multiverse than Multiverse of Madness because they did not give us a lot of madness in that multiverse. Zach, you were wondering how much they were going to talk about how you wear the mask, where the first one talked about anyone can wear the mask, and then you assume the second one would be how you wear the mask. I think you were pretty accurate with that one. And then you were wondering why Miles is at the center of it all, why there's so many variations of Spider-Man, and why we have to focus on Miles besides that he's the protagonist. And that was a valid thought, and the movie I think showed that well. It was out of his desire to make things right and fight against the universe with all of the other Spider-Men defending the universe. I think that was a good way.
And the fact that he's like the anomaly.
Yeah, for sure. What are your other thoughts? William, did you see this one?
No, but I just know the memes, and for some reason, I feel a strong urge to agree with Miguel, and I don't know why.
You want to be the devil's advocate.
I don't know. For some reason, apparently he's the bad guy because something to do with like canon, and I don't know. For some reason, I feel a strong urge to just agree with him, and I don't know why. Because I know that like his whole thing is like you have to preserve the canon timelines, and you're an anomaly. So and then he goes to extreme like I need to wipe you out or something evil like that, and then probably in the end he stopped by, I don't know, like, no, this isn't what we do. We're Spider-Man. I don't know. Although, to be fair, if the laws of reality did dictate that, like, you did something that you don't know. No, there might be something there, but anyway, I don't know. I haven't watched it, but it sounded like it. I just know that you and Josh probably loved it.
I'm sure Josh watched it, but I don't know if he gave me his thoughts ever since it came out.
Really? I'd be surprised. I'm really surprised you guys wouldn't have talked over that.
Zach, you love this one.
Yeah, I think, for one thing, the movie, I feel like it was just very overhyped for me before I saw it. You know, like it was the best movie on Letterboxd for a little bit. Do you remember that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Well, it was something like that. So I was like, why is it really that good? So, I mean, I still think it's a really good movie. I mean, I think it's almost it seems like a really great bridge between 2 even better films. So I hope that comes true with Beyond the Spider-Verse. But for what this movie was, it was really good. So fun to see all these different Spider people. Miguel was cool and everything, and Oscar Isaac was pretty sick. And just the concept of like canon events was all very interesting to add to the Spider-Verse mythos, and just kind of the lessons about like themes of creating your own destiny and being more than your past and everything. It's just it was a great film.
Yeah, I think it's funny how much the word canon event has infiltrated meme culture now. And I guess that shows how popular it was, regardless of if it was number 6 of the year. But it became a new thing to talk about, and like, can certain situations be changed? I think we should do an episode sometime on time travel and how that has affected our view of life. Because sometimes I've caught myself thinking like, what if there were other universes and how would that play into theology? Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and we start thinking, we have that mindset now because of pop culture. So yeah, I'm calling Josh right now because if for some reason he picks up, we're going to have him guest on this podcast and give us his thoughts on Across the Spider-Verse. But I don't know if he's going to answer. Josh, are you available for like a minute?
Oh, Yeah, I can be available for a minute. What's up?
We're talking about our 2023 year in review, and I realized I don't know what you thought of Across the Spider-Verse, and I figured we could get your thoughts on what you thought of the movie really quick.
Hi, Josh.
Okay.
Hi, Josh.
He can't hear you. They're saying hi, but you can't hear them.
Okay. Hi, guys. This is kind of a weird one-way conversation, but my thoughts on Across the Spider-Verse. It was a phenomenal movie. It's hard to live up to the hype of Into the Spider-Verse because that is my number one favorite movie, but Across the Spider-Verse did nail it in the animation, the storyline, and even though I'm not a huge fan of cliffhangers, they had a great cliffhanger, and I'm stoked for the next one. So that was a massive success, and the movie got second in my favorite movies of all time. So definitely a success for the 2023 year.
Of all time, what was your number one?
Of all time, my favorite movies are number 1, Into the Spider-Verse, number 2, Across the Spider-Verse, and then number 3, Tag.
You like Tag?
Tag is
It was not a well-made movie, but I did laugh a lot, and I loved the idea of it. And that movie list probably changes a lot, but so far, Tag has been up there for about a month because I watched Tag a month ago.
I like that. I think that's funny. I haven't watched it, but I've wanted to. Would you say Across the Spider-Verse is your number one 2023 movie?
Oh, for sure. Hands down.
Okay. What would you say your 2 and 3 is, and then I'll let you go.
Okay, I gotta think about the movies that came out this year. Oh, kind of a hot take. I thought Blue Beetle was great, and I'd probably put that in number 2. I'd argue it's one of the best DC movies ever made. I, then again, watched it with a lot of friends, and it was a lot funnier with all of those friends. I was happy with that movie. Everyone's gonna be mad at me for putting Blue Beetle over Barbie and Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer was a little long. Barbie was really funny, but it's not top 3 for me. Those two are probably like in the top 5, but I'd probably say third is Volume 3, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
That was like a little candle in a very dark room, which the dark room is Marvel right now. It's definitely struggling. And the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was great. Loved most every second. There were still a few quirks about it that I wasn't a huge fan of, but that's something that would take an entire episode to digest.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. Thanks for hopping on for a second. Featuring Josh today, guys. Thanks for doing this.
Bye, Josh.
Yeah, you're welcome.
They're saying bye.
Peace out, brethren.
Yeah, there it is.
Bye-bye, Josh.
All right. Yeah, there it is. I knew he would have positive things to say about Across the Spider-Verse, but I thought that was fun.
Seth, as someone with a degree in animation, what are your thoughts?
As I was listening back to the episode, I realized that I said it about twice, and I didn't say it as a meme. I just said it as though it was factual truth, which it is factual truth. I do have a degree in animation, but it wasn't as big of a joke yet. I didn't have a shirt about it, which you should go buy merch now that you're all done with Christmas, and you have all this Christmas money laying around, right? I really, really loved Across the Spider-Verse, and we should do a whole episode on it, or at least that trilogy once the third one comes out, because there was a lot of visual storytelling. Again, they did well with that, especially I think of the scene where Gwen makes up with her dad, and the way that her hug kind of explodes the room in the pastel color, the watercolor color, I should say, and it just turns from this gloomy, sad, unforgiving color to the moment she hugs him, explodes into bright pinks and other color. Like, that was white. Like, whoa, that is storytelling with the frame. It's not storytelling in the script. It's not storytelling with which actors you choose. It's storytelling through what is shown on screen.
Well, Gwen's whole universe was colored to how it looked depended on the mood of the scene.
Mm-hmm. But that was one where it wasn't two different scenes that were a couple minutes apart. It was the same scene, the same shot, transition in the middle. That was the obvious one. They did really well with it, I think. Transformers, Rise of the Beast. Again, Will did not see it, but he's the only one who was looking forward to it. He was hoping that it captures the spirit of the original TV show. We will never know, because we're
okay. I do have a friend. I do have a friend who watched it, and I did just watch Cody from Alternate History Hub. This is Cody from Alternate History Hub. Love the guy. But anyways, I do have a friend who did watch it, who is a Transformers friend. It's Jack, you know him. Yeah. So shout out to this if you're listening. But I do have a friend who did watch it, and he enjoyed it. And from what I've heard about it, it was fine, not the worst, but it was kind of fine.
That's one that I don't know why they haven't stopped making them.
Because they make money.
They do make money. They're they're a live action version of a TV show that was made to sell toys.
Yep.
And therefore,
and they sell toys for those
and
movies.
they sell
those
toys
live
for
action
the
movies.
Yes, man. Okay, we come to the greatest flop. Well, I shouldn't say the greatest flop, but one of the biggest disappointments, The Flash. This was a train wreck. It's number 18 for 2023 movies, made $270 million. Wow. What a movie. Now, oddly enough, this is a movie I would rewatch now. Maybe I didn't say that when it first came out, but I would rewatch it to see how bad it is. It's not so bad it's good. It's so bad it's bad, and that's good. It was just a dumpster fire from start to finish. And I in our episode, I had wondered what cameos were in it. Doubted that it had the possibility to be good with all the problems. That was with the years and years of trying to get this off the ground, and then Miller coming into these problems. And I said it will always have a cloud hanging over it, and I still think that's true. But I was also not expecting the amount of cameos that we got to be that crazy and insane. And Zach had said that Ezra Miller was not a good casting option from the start, which I still agree. You were hoping for a reset. I was hoping for a reset going into it, hoping that using this multiverse tool could reset and lead into the Gunn cinematic universe. It didn't. It was rumored at that time that Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot had cameos. Again, Gal Gadot did show up at that point, and Henry Cavill did not because they had a major falling out. Christopher Reeve's cameo kind of did. That was kind of a weird move on their part. And then Supergirl choice is stupid, is what you said. And I think that was because we knew that the James Gunn was taking over and going to reset everything. So why are you introducing a new character like that? So, thoughts?
Well, I don't know if I'd necessarily call it a disappointment, because that means there were expectations for it. I would just call it a bad movie. I mean, to be honest, they had a Super Bowl trailer that kind of actually got me excited for the movie. But besides that, I have much expectation for it at all. I mean, just as I said last time, Ezra Miller, just not a believable Barry Allen for me.
And you got to see him twice.
Yeah. The whole movie's kind of got this weird and quirky vibe that I never really liked it. And, like, people were saying the beginning was good. I didn't like the beginning. You know, when he's saving babies.
I was way too distracted by the CG.
It's like, why is he saving babies? Who came up with this idea? That's such a dumb idea to me. And
I was also so confused as to why the CGI was so terrible. They had years to work on this movie.
Yeah.
Not saying that years equals quality, but get it right if you have that long. You have time to refine it. And
most of those years were pinning down a script, so... They went through so many different directors and so many different scripts, so it wasn't the CGI they were taking all that time on.
Yeah, actually, no, you're right. It was probably all of the production, and then post production was a nightmare to try and cram in and finish. I understand that completely.
Yeah.
And in these situations, it's important not to blame the VFX artists because most of them are so talented. They just have very limited time, and they're not treated well. And yeah, that's important to remember and to not just bash them.
And, I mean, even Batman, his suit looks so weird. I'm just going to talk about that. His suit was so bad in that movie. I don't know what all the hexagon things were, and the blue didn't end up looking that good to me. I mean, that's just small nitpicky things. But then, I mean, even when we get into the big multiverse stuff, I mean, they didn't give Michael Keaton a whole lot to do, which was kind of sad. And then
that movie would have flopped so hard if it didn't have Michael Keaton in it. Not that it already did. It already flopped pretty bad.
And then those CGI cameos were just kind of horrendous. I mean, there was Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater as their Superman and Supergirl. Then you got Nicolas Cage as Superman, who claims he was on set, but he's just all CGI. And all those other big orbs and the bad CGI throughout the rest of the film. And then Supergirl's just kind of there, and it's just a mess of a film.
Yeah, I've seen Corridor Crew do a better job at taking existing footage and make a new scene out of it. That's what they did for those cameos. And Corridor Crew just did it way better for multiple. They do like Marvel R-rated, Home Alone R-rated. Like they do it a lot better. And they had some time. The studios did not. We'll leave it at that. Yeah. Next up, number 14, making almost $400 million, is Indiana Jones. Eesh, is what I have to say about that. Luke was really passionate about this one, and he also is passionate about disliking Dial of Destiny. I know that for a fact. He said the original trilogy was the greatest ever made. I would contest that, but I also understand that he really likes it. The fourth shouldn't have been made. The CGI isn't going to work. He wants it to be good, but dreads it. I think we all thought that going in. There's really no hope when it comes to large properties that are owned by Disney. You just expect them to go down the drain. I had asked, is this movie going to be rewatchable? I don't think it was. I assumed there was going to be a Disney Plus spinoff with Phoebe Waller-Bridge as the new Indiana Jones. I think I was being a little overdramatic with that. William, you didn't see it as being necessary for the arc. And I think that's what most people see as the first three movies being the start and the finish. Like the end of the end of the third movie was them riding off into the sunset. How much more of a closing arc can you have? And then, interestingly enough, I'm just going to get through these and we can talk. Zach assumed that James Mangold could bring a new perspective and make a decent movie. Hate to tell you, Zach, it didn't work out pretty well.
That's too bad.
Yeah, because I think that's just like the overriding thing that everyone was thinking about for Dial of Destiny is like, why? Like the fourth one was really a stretch because he was really getting old. Like you could tell in that film. And I think the fourth one could have been done better in such a way that it would have been a better sending. But like even still, it wasn't the worst thing in the world, and it was an end. People thought it was over. We've had our Indiana Jones. We can move on. And then they just come out with this, and you're like, it's not necessary. I don't see how this is going to end well. And I didn't even bother watching it. I mean, I don't really bother watching the film, but yeah. So I just know that like they do the timey-wimey magic-y stuff. And then something about Phoebe Waller-Bridge does something and punches him, I guess. And yeah, it all seemed just strange and unnecessary.
That ending was so weird. That one was one of the movies that felt like they didn't know what to do and just pieced together what they could and just let it go.
How did it end, actually? Because I'm generally curious.
They end up in ancient Greece. Oh, you didn't see it? Okay. They ended up in ancient Greece, and Archimedes or somebody, whoever made the Dial of Destiny, was like, I know exactly who you are. That means this worked. And then Indiana was like, I belong here. Just leave me. You go back through the rift in the sky. And I don't even remember her name. Phoebe's character just was like, no, you have to go back to England. Punches him in the face. Everything goes black. He wakes up in his apartment, and his ex-wife walks in, and they forgive each other or something. It's a terrible end to a movie. It just... Lack of explanation is not an explanation. Yeah, it wasn't good. I still expect to see an Indiana Jones TV show of some sort. Maybe not with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but yeah. We got to keep moving here. Dead Reckoning, number 8 in the box office, only making $567 million. I assumed it would be box office success. Does it have the possibility to fail is what I said. I don't think I would stand by that because any movie is bound to fail, as we can see with this year. And I oppose it to Fast X, where they keep making installments, but for some reason, Mission Impossible keeps getting better and Fast and Furious movies get worse. And Zach just said it's a movie for the books, is what he hoped for.
And it was, in my opinion.
And it was. It was really good. It comes down to Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise just working together to know what real movies are and making a banger of a movie that just looks good. The only thing I would say is that they advertised the heck out of the cliff jump scene, and it honestly wasn't as cool anymore when I saw it in theaters. Like, I knew it was coming. I knew exactly what to expect. I knew exactly what it would look like. And then it was just kind of like, yeah, I've seen that like 5 times already. So besides that, I really loved it. The train sequence at the end was gripping. Like at the when they finally made it to safety, I felt my body go. I realized I had 10 steps. Will, did you see this? Why are you even on this podcast if you're not going to watch these movies? No, I'm sorry. I don't mean it like that.
Again, because I bring delightful commentary. And
you do.
Yeah.
You do, and you will watch movies if I ask you to.
Yeah, that's basically it.
But you didn't see it, this one.
No. You can pretty much I'll put it this way. If it's 10 years old, I probably haven't seen it. Actually, unless it's like a Western or a very big, well-known film or a Marvel movie, there's a good chance I haven't seen it. Although I have seen very obscure films as well, so it's, yeah.
Fair enough.
I just don't go to theaters. It costs money, and I don't pay.
I really loved it. I would probably say it's I think I would say second favorite in the franchise. They kind of went from going with a different director in each film in the first 4, and then 5 through 8 is going to be all Christopher McQuarrie, so there's kind of a transition there, but it's Christopher McQuarrie's really just been, hitting home run after home run with 5, 6, and 7 here. And 7 especially showed, just They took stunts to the next level with the bike scene that we saw a million times in marketing and the train scene. So the stunts were all really great. You get what you expect there. And I thought Haley Atwell was a great addition to the cast. I really liked her character in the film. Yeah. She brought something new there. I was a little bummed out that they killed, it's Rebecca Ferguson's. I can never remember their names in these movies, but they kill her off, and that kind of bummed me out.
As long as she stays dead. As long as she stays dead and is meaningful. Like, they played it off, and they were like, man, this really sucks. But, more than that. But
Ilsa Faust, that's her name.
Yeah, but they I think they did a really good job understanding the sacrifice and that it's for Ilsa or whatever. Yeah. So, man, we got some big ones here. Oppenheimer and Barbie. We'll rope those two in together. Oppenheimer was number 3 in the box office, just shy of $1 billion. Barbie was the number 1 2023 movie, making $1.4 billion. I expected a lot from Oppenheimer. Zach expected RDJ to be amazing. And then from Barbie, I said it would be unironically good, and a lot of people would actually like it. Will thought it was dumb and wasn't going to go watch it, had zero interest. And Zach assumed it would be a crazy movie. William, that is where you were wrong. You would go see it because you went and saw it with Josh and I.
Yeah, that's literally the only reason I would have gone. Although I will say I was pleasantly surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. Because again, like what exactly he was trying to say, who knows? But it was a funny film. Yeah, especially Ken. Mostly 90% of the enjoyment was from like Ken. I'm just gonna say fair. Because we're all Ken enough.
We are Ken enough. I think I kind of expressed my thoughts in our Barbenheimer episode, which was kind of a special summer episode. I thought Oppenheimer was really long and a lot of talking. I understand why it was really big and cool and amazing. I still don't think it's Nolan's best. I feel like I would watch any of the other Nolan movies over that one. Not saying it's bad. I watched The Prestige tonight and I was like, man, this is a good one. It was our first episode.
Love that one.
I love that one. It's so good. And yeah, I didn't vibe with Oppenheimer. It had its pluses, but the long runtime really got to me and a lot of talking. It was well made and everything, and then Barbie, I agree with Will. I don't know exactly. They played both sides of the argument, but tried to play one side more than the other. The messaging was weird. The way they made it was fun. Reminded me of old 2000s movies where it was, Will Ferrell was the main villain, the comic relief next to Ken. Will Ferrell being Will Ferrell. And just a misplaced protagonist, I think, is a good way to describe it. And those types of movies are fun and aren't made that much anymore. So I appreciated it for that. And a lot of memes came from it. Speaking of, I was actually Barbenheimer with my girlfriend for Halloween. I was J. Robert Oppenheimer, and she was Barbie, and we thought that was pretty funny.
Nice.
That's how much the memes have affected our life.
Yeah, if I'm going to be honest, I think I'd probably rewatch Barbie before I rewatched Oppenheimer. And that's kind of mostly for what you were saying about Oppenheimer. For seeing it once, it was very intriguing still, even though it's just a bunch of talking besides like the bomb scene. And I think if I watched it again, it wouldn't be as intriguing, and it would just kind of feel like a bunch of talking to me. Meanwhile, with Barbie, Barbie was not the feminist propaganda that some people made it out to be. I think it's an over-the-top comedy that pokes fun at both sides, and it's a decent movie. I think there's some scenes where it gets kind of annoying with the message and everything like that, but overall, Ryan Gosling, lots of fun. He is me, so
yeah,
just Ken and all that.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people either wanted to really hate it or really love it, and if you disagreed with them, you were wrong. I enjoyed it for what it was, in the sense that a lot of people got offended at the demasculinizing of males, and I didn't see it as that. It kind of spoke down to men for a while, but it was also like I thought the men stereotypes were hilarious. I found that so funny. Not that I let that define my life, but and then yeah, it's the one scene where the mom gets preachy felt out of place, especially in a comedy, regardless of what she was talking about. There's a lot of contradictions with how the story was made and what it's trying to tell. Not how it was made, but how the story was structured versus what it was explicitly trying to say. We're not going to get into that, but it was funny, and I think that's what mattered, and that's why it's number 1 of the 2023. Yeah. I think we're going to mostly breeze through this. That's how we did it the last time. We got through like July and August, and then we just crashed through it. Marvel's bombed. We knew that. I didn't like it. It was just a generic Marvel movie. No one saw it. I didn't see the purpose of it back in January. Zach had heard that there was going to be a musical Planet, and he was not wrong. And I groaned through that whole scene because I couldn't stand it. Because at the end of the scene, Captain Marvel just goes, "Oh yeah, the guy I've been singing to for the last 5 minutes, he's bilingual, which means he can talk normally, and we didn't need to have this entire scene." It was a movie made for little girls, not the core audience of the superhero movies. Does that make sense? Like, a majority of superhero and comic fans are guys. That's how it is. And Marvel's was made for a bunch of little girls who like cats and musicals. And I'm stereotyping so hard right now, but that's the reality.
It's for the same audience as Miss Marvel, I would say. I mean, and I guess it's kind of cool for Marvel to give something for everyone, but I think they just give them better.
No, see, that's where I disagree. They're gonna have bombs like this if they give something for everyone. When the core of superhero movies are based in the male fanboy type of punchy, deep kind of Winter Soldier, I love you bro type of situations, those are the ones that I think are the coolest. That's why I think Winter Soldier is one of the best Marvel movies, is because it just appeals to that audience so well. And maybe that's another episode for another time. I just push off the conversation so we can get done with this one. We mentioned Craven. That didn't come out. That got delayed. We mentioned Dune Part 2. That got delayed, so we can't even talk about that. Wonka. I haven't seen it. I have heard that it's fun and goofy and quirky. It is apparently a musical, and no one knew that until you saw it for the first time. The marketing did not imply that at all. And the only thing we had said about it was that Zach assumed that Wonka didn't need an origin story.
Yeah, it seems weird, but whatever. Maybe it'll be fine. Who knows?
I don't know. You can go see it now, I guess. Let us know. We're not going to go see it. Aquaman 2, still, I believe that's coming out this weekend.
Tonight, so.
Oh, tonight? Yeah. Spoiler alert, we're recording this on Thursday.
If we want to make a super last prediction, I don't know. I have seen the trailers for it. I did watch Aquaman 1. When I go and watch movies, I'm not like generally super critical while I'm watching it. I can pretty much sit down and enjoy any film. But in regards to story, I can't say much. But I just liked the visuals for Aquaman because it's underwater, and we haven't really seen like a full on underwater battles and giant civilizations stuff like that. And they'd look to see a bit of cool stuff for the second one, so that just seemed interesting. So I hope it does well, but I don't know, because I know it's probably gonna be like one of the.
Is it sad? Can you see that? I don't think you can see that well. It's at a 36% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Yeah. The two reviews I had heard of it, Jeremy Johns said The Flash was better. I think that he's being a little dramatic. I don't know. The Critical Drinker said it was like Blue Beetle, Black Adam, Shazam 2, bland, generic superhero movie, and not a good way to end off the DCEU. It is what it is. I'm not going to go see it if those are what they're getting at. Some movies that we didn't add in our predictions episode, I don't know if we missed them or if they just came up quickly. I don't know. Hunger Games, Battle of the Songbirds and the Snakes.
Ballad of the Songbirds and the Snakes.
Ballad?
Yes, Ballad.
That shows you how much of a Hunger Games fan I am. I actually really liked it. I enjoyed the story of it. It was tough because President Snow, who's the bad guy in the first four, is the protagonist, so he's a sympathetic villain. Sympathetic villains don't always work. It's like in the last 10 minutes where he decides he's going to be bad. That didn't sit well with me, but the whole story was decent. I liked it.
That's interesting because I haven't watched the film, but I have read the book. So, but from what I can tell, like it did pretty well in the box office. I mean, it wasn't like the greatest thing ever, but it did fine, which is good, I guess. It's just
it made $300 million. Decent.
I didn't see it. So
FNAF, Five Nights at Freddy's.
Didn't see that.
You guys didn't see it?
So.
Okay.
I don't care for FNAF, so I yeah.
I saw it. I'm on the borderline between liking FNAF and not liking FNAF. My girlfriend who went and watched it with me didn't know anything about it, so she just laughed at it. She thought it was funny that they were so scared by goofy-looking monsters. I knew most of the lore, but I'm not a hardcore fan, so I didn't really care that much. For being a Blumhouse production and being so cheap, it looked really good. And yeah, the FNAF community really liked it. So, Sound of Freedom, we talked about that a little bit. It actually made number 21 in the full year box office, and that was released earlier in the year, whereas some of these movies were also released later, so it's not like it's got a full 12 months of, how much can this make if it was re-released at all or whatever. But yeah, Sound of Freedom was good. We have an episode on that. Go check it out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I really like that one. That one was a really cool art style, similar yet different to Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse, but also the fact that they got teenagers to act in it really, really sold it for me, and the story was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles story. It's pretty good. You guys see it?
Nope.
There is one more thing I'd like to mention, just because it's I haven't seen it, but I've heard. I was kind of hyped for it and then I've kind of dismayed, I guess, from the reviews, Napoleon, because that came out pretty recently. But I saw the trailers for it, and I'm a history guy. You know, I have a majors in history. I like doing that stuff. So I was really excited for this because it's Ridley Scott films, which aren't known to be like perhaps the most historically accurate, but they're always like generally like sometimes they're pretty passable and they're really fun and they get people engaged. They had Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon. It looked pretty good. I was kind of hyped for it, just seeing the trailers. And then from what I've heard is that like it was really bad and it was really historically inaccurate. And like they focused on Josephine, Napoleon's wife, way too much, and that it was just not really good. So that was just something random that just has come out more recently that just seems disappointing from what I've heard.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I've heard mixed reviews about it, both. I mean, maybe if you're a history nerd, you would notice things. But honestly, for a Ridley Scott movie, it's probably leans on the historical fiction. And so, what's a few facts here or there?
I don't know, maybe firing cannonballs at the Egyptian pyramids.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen it, so I can't really defend it. The three others that I have listed: Blue Beetle. I really like Blue Beetle. Just because it was okay. And okay is the standard for good now, which is very sad. Did you see that? You saw Blue Beetle, right? I told you to go see it, I believe, Zach.
I thought I told you to see it.
I thought I told you to see it. I don't know. There was a conversation.
I didn't tell anybody to see it because I didn't watch it.
Fair enough.
I loved Blue Beetle. I mean, it was like, it's funny that Blue Beetle was the best DC movie this year when the other ones were Shazam, The Flash, and Aquaman.
Yeah.
Somehow Blue Beetle. Yeah, but I mean, it had a very basic plot, generic villain and everything, but a very, very likable characters. They did really well. The lead actor was so good at showing emotions. There were some very emotional scenes in there, and I just loved that. Yeah. And then the family was all really cool. And yeah, I mean, even though there wasn't much to the movie, what there was really good.
And I think it looked really good. I think all the CG production went to Blue Beetle and not to The Flash. Last two, The Creator. Original story. I enjoyed it. I like John David Washington. Gareth Edwards can make some pretty solid one-off movies because he made Rogue One as well. I think it was pretty good. And the final one that blew me away, and I would have never seen this coming, Godzilla -1. And unfortunately, I think it's already out of theaters because it's an international film. But wow, talk about a good movie. I compare it to the Godzilla versus Kong movies that is apparently making the MonsterVerse right now, and how the whole Godzilla -1 movie had a tone that was so different from, say, the Godzilla X Kong trailer, you know, where they're like running together in like superheroes. That's not what Godzilla is. Godzilla is what they depicted him in Godzilla -1 as this Japanese monster, like, because it's a Japanese film. Wow.
That was violent.
My bad.
Wait. Random funny thing that just got in mind.
Almost had an atomic breath there.
You take the sneeze, and then you put, you know when Godzilla does like his whole roar thing after shooting the laser beam? Put that sound effect over that. So it's like, achoo.
Yeah, Zach has atomic breath like Godzilla. That's funny. No, speaking of that, thanks for sneezing and leading me into this, Zach. Godzilla's atomic breath scene, there's a couple of them, just blew me away. This movie was less than $15 million in budget, and it looked amazing. They knew how to use their money. I believe the director knows visual effects, and so he knows where to draw the line of how much to do. You know, a good director will know what is capable of his workers. But the way you got to care about these characters, even in a movie about a monster terrorizing an entire city, unlike Godzilla versus Kong, where it's just monster punchy other monster, it means something. There's stakes, there's passion, it was so good. I loved it. So that was a standout.
Yeah, and I'll just briefly say this. I think that it's really interesting to notice the difference between like the Western depictions of Godzilla and the original, the Japanese, more Eastern depiction of Godzilla, is because and they just like those two type of films have like their own strengths to them. Because like the Godzilla MonsterVerse films is like, again, it's a cinematic universe. It's more along the ideas of trying to be like more of a superhero type of film, but with like bigger monsters. And it's like you go there, you watch it big time. Like, you know, Godzilla versus Kong. I go there, I watch monkey with big axe swing and destroy city. That's what you go there for, to just kind of sit down. I think Godzilla -1 is it has more depth to it, and I think that's what makes it a bit more impactful and like seems to be more enjoyable.
I would highly encourage a watch for that one.
I haven't seen it yet, but it was crazy to me that I saw like no marketing for the movie, but once it came out, everyone just went crazy about it, and I was just like, what's going on? And I didn't even know there was a Godzilla movie coming out at all, and then everyone's raving about it, and so I am definitely interested to see it. But
yes, please do. It's really good.
Just one last thing for movies. Sorry, I'll just mention it. It's coming out now. Zack Snyder's got his Rebel Moon thing. Don't know much about it. Just know that's a Zack Snyder film. That's literally it.
I was kind of like, it's like a 14% or something on Rotten Tomatoes.
We'll talk about that next week when we look at 2024 movie predictions. Join us for that. We'll have some new people on. I'm excited for that. Then again, what really is coming out in 2024 because of the writer's strike? I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, that's all the time we got for today because we've gone long. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching. Be sure to follow our socials, join our Discord, share this podcast with your friends. Have a very, well, you hopefully will have had a very Merry Christmas by now. Have a happy holidays. We'll see you in 2024 where we will have a lot of new things prepared. We got a lot of projects in the works and I'm excited to share them with you. So thank you for being along this ride with us.
See you next year.
All right, thanks for listening to the One Eyed Film podcast, focusing on faith in film.
We're still working on that.
I'm trying it out, seeing how it sounds. Focusing on faith in film.
Well, what was Josh's? Film friends, for short.
Friendly
right.
film focus.
Nope, cut it off. Shut it down. Shut it down. All right. Know that you're loved. God bless.
Bye.